What is unfolding in Ottawa right now is not just a story about a couple of MPs changing jerseys. It is a raw display of how power actually consolidates in parliamentary systems, and how narratives are weaponized the moment control starts slipping. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is adamant that his leadership has nothing to do with recent defections. In his telling, this is not a problem inside his party at all. He frames it as a failure of Prime Minister Mark Carney's leadership, accusing him of trying to assemble a majority not through voters, but through quiet maneuvering behind closed doors. The language is sharp, emotionally charged, and very deliberate. It paints the image of a government attempting to reverse the will of the electorate without facing them directly, suggesting something underhanded rather than procedural. Welcome to Political Plot, where we cut through the noise to reveal the power plays shaping American politics. Today we are diving into how real political power is built and contested, not just through elections, but through perception, timing, and control of parliamentary mechanics, where legality and legitimacy often collide. It is a look at how leadership, narrative, and strategic positioning quietly reshape governments long after voters leave the ballot box. Poilievre's argument hinges on legitimacy. He claims Canadians already rejected the idea of a liberal majority because of fears around higher costs, taxes, and deficits. From that perspective, any attempt to secure majority power without another election is framed as manipulation. It is a powerful message politically, even if it simplifies how parliamentary systems actually work. In reality, Canadians elect individual MPs, not governments in abstract terms. Majority or minority status is an outcome of how those MPs align over the life of a parliament, not a fixed moral contract signed on election day. Still, messaging is rarely about nuance. It is about emotion, and Poilievre is clearly trying to tap into frustration and distrust. When asked whether more conservatives could cross the floor, Poilievre avoided a direct answer. That hesitation matters. He is usually a precise and disciplined communicator, so when he stumbles or circles, it signals discomfort. Meanwhile, liberals are making no effort to close the door. The response from within government circles is almost casual. There are inquiries, conversations, and interest. No dramatic denials, just an acknowledgement that politics is fluid and people are watching where momentum is heading. Mark Carney, for his part, does not appear troubled by the optics. In interviews, he leans into process rather than perception. He emphasizes that Parliament functions on numbers, confidence, and votes. If legislation passes because more MPs support it than oppose it, that is not a loophole. That is the system working as designed. When pressed on whether he is comfortable achieving a majority through defections, he reframes the issue entirely. The focus is not how the support is assembled, but what that support enables. Stability, legislation, long-term policy goals around security, independence, sustainability, and economic growth. From his view, MPs are not being lured. They are responding to an agenda they believe in. That framing is important. Carney presents himself less as a political tactician and more as an executive trying to make an organization function. Supporters see pragmatism, critics see detachment. Some insiders argue this is where Carney's background shows. He often approaches governance like a CEO approaches a board, focusing on outcomes rather than political theater. That can be an advantage in crisis, but in a minority parliament, it can also create friction. Governing without a majority requires constant negotiation, relationship building, and compromise. Those skills are different from running an institution with clear authority. The panel discussion around this issue reveals how divided interpretations really are. From the liberal side, there is frustration with what they see as selective outrage. Floor crossing is not new. Conservatives have benefited from it before, sometimes dramatically, even elevating defectors to senior positions. To denounce the practice now only because it threatens them looks hypocritical. There is also the argument that if this situation truly does not matter, why does the opposition keep amplifying it? The very intensity of the messaging suggests anxiety. From the conservative perspective, the difference lies in scale and consequence. This is not a symbolic defection. This is the difference between minority and majority power, and that shift changes everything. Committee control, legislative speed, the ability to prorogue and reset. The entire chessboard rearranges once a majority is secured. So the argument goes that while floor crossing may be legal, doing so to fundamentally alter the balance of power without an election raises legitimate democratic concerns. Even if those concerns are more philosophical than procedural, they resonate with voters who already distrust political elites. There is also a broader question about functionality. Canada's parliament has been sluggish. Very little legislation has passed in the past year. That is not a sign of healthy governance. Minority governments can work, but only when parties are willing to cooperate. In this case, cooperation has been minimal. Carney initially appeared content with a minority, dismissing formal agreements with other parties. Over time, reality set in. Without reliable support, governing becomes gridlock. From that angle, pursuing a majority is not a power grab, but an attempt to make the system function again. What often gets lost in these debates is how MPs actually make these decisions. Contrary to popular imagination, there is rarely a shadowy war room with targets pinned on a board. Floor crossings tend to emerge from personal relationships, quiet dissatisfaction, and long private reflection. MPs talk to each other constantly across party lines. Trust builds, frustration accumulates. At some point, someone decides staying put no longer aligns with their interests or values. When it happens suddenly, it looks shocking. In reality, it has usually been brewing for months. The idea of forcing by election after floor crossings comes up repeatedly, especially from parties that historically struggle to gain power. It sounds principled, but it is inconsistently applied and rarely supported when inconvenient. Voters themselves often care far less about the mechanics than politicians assume. Outside Ottawa, most people want results, functioning services, economic stability, progress. Whether that comes from a minority or majority is abstract to many voters compared to whether anything gets done at all. As for leadership consequences, Poilievre is facing scrutiny. Multiple departures always raise questions, even if they are not directly his fault. Leadership reviews are rarely about the technical threshold needed to survive. They are about optics and momentum. A leader can technically win and still emerge weakened. That said, Poilievre maintains a strong grip on his party. Expectations are that his support numbers will be high enough to silence internal dissent, at least for now. The issue is less about immediate survival and more about narrative damage over time. In the end, this entire episode is a reminder that power in parliamentary systems is dynamic, not static. It shifts through alliances, perception, and timing as much as through elections. Parties will condemn tactics when they are on the receiving end and justify them when they benefit. That is not cynicism, it is politics. What matters is whether institutions can still function, whether voters feel represented, and whether leaders understand that legitimacy is not just about legality, but about trust. Right now, all sides are trying to claim that trust. Whether the public is watching closely or tuning out entirely may be the most important factor of all.